Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to the Ship Life. So I gotta be completely honest with you, I was dealing with a little bit of a conundrum earlier today when I was deciding what I was gonna use for essentially the main entree, the main topic for today's cruise news, because there are so many interesting things that we're gonna be talking about in this video. We do have an update from Carnival and Breaking News as they are changing their testing requirements. Now, I'll be honest with you, I believe this update is a little silly. However, it may somewhat foreshadow what's in the cards as far as the future for Carnival Cruise Lines. We also have an update when it comes to the Crystal Cruises saga, which never seems to really end these days. There's so much going on all the time. So we have something in regards to the crew members. We have hundreds of crew members that are kind of in like a limbo status right now. And unfortunately for them, they have a big decision to make as they are stuck between a rock and a hard place. The hard place being a cruise ship. They have to make a decision that will either cost them or save their job. So I will talk about the details in today's video. And then finally, we got to talk about the world's largest cruise ship. And it's not the one you think. We're not talking about Wonder of the Seas. Come to find out, there's also multiple world's largest cruise ships, at least in different aspects. So there's Wonder of the Seas, and there's another ship that is the world's largest by capacity, and it's up for sale. So we're going to talk about this and more in today's episode, so let's go ahead and get into it. So sailing straight into some Carnival news, lately we've seen a lot of news coming out of both Carnival Cruise Lines and its parent company, the largest cruising company on planet Earth, the Carnival Corporation. So starting on March 4th, we have 4 cruise lines within the Carnival Corporation, that of which being Carnival Cruise Lines, Princess Cruise Lines, Seabourn Cruise Line, and Holland America, that have all decided that they are going to update their masking policy, making it so that masks are optional on board their cruise ships. And then we had Carnival come out, which also again for Carnival Cruise Lines comes into effect essentially on March 1st as well, that they are going to basically be recognizing natural immunity. So moving forward, starting on March 1st, if you have had COVID 3 months or within 3 months and you have recovered, you have proof by way of a doctor's note and other proof as well that you've had COVID and recovered, and you are sailing 10 days after you recovered, you do not have to take a COVID test. And I believe I saw in there you also do not have to be vaccinated, which is very interesting for Carnival to do. Now, in breaking news, Carnival Cruise Lines has just come out and updated their testing requirements for people to sail. This is all involving the pre-cruise testing. So essentially what's happening is they're going to decide on how you take your test or how long it was before your cruise that you're taking your test, whether you are vaccinated and boosted, and if you are just vaccinated. So if you are fully vaccinated and you've also been boosted, meaning you're up to date on your vaccinations, basically you can take a pre-cruise test and you can have it done at least 72 hours prior to your cruise. So it gives you a little bit more leeway, a little bit more time to get your test done. However, if you're just vaccinated, you have to produce a negative COVID test taken no earlier than 48 hours prior to your cruise. Now, I will just say this because I don't want to dwell on this topic. It's pretty cut and dry, very simple, but I understand the whole thing with boosters and whatnot. I get it. However, I would just like to see the science personally for me. Nobody get angry. I'm just looking at this from a logical, dumb man standpoint. I don't understand what the difference is in 1 day versus, 2 days or whatever the case is as far as them updating their test requirements and making it so that vaccinated people that are just vaccinated have to get a test 48 hours and the other one 72. It just puts a lot of stress on the other people that aren't vaccinated, which, again, I believe this could foreshadow what Carnival and maybe other cruise lines may do in the future because they're making it easier for people that are boosted just to go ahead and sail. And I think at some point they're going to keep on pushing this to the point to where they're going to say, well, it's probably going to behoove of you just to get boosted and make things easier so you can have a smoother experience when cruising. But either way, guys, like I said, this is just my dumb perspective. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. So next up, let's talk about what's going on with Crystal Cruises, because there's always something going on with Crystal Cruises in 2022. It's been a wild and unfortunate ride for Crystal Cruises. So we are getting reports that at least 300 to 400 essential crew members are stuck on board Crystal Cruises ships, like of course the Crystal Serenity, Crystal Symphony, which was seized, and the Crystal Endeavor. Now, these crew members are kind of in a limbo status, and we're not talking about the good kind. I'm talking about the challenging part of limbo, where it's like the last couple people and the stick is all the way to the ground and you got to pretty much break your back to get under it. They're in that kind of limbo, which I'll explain in a second. So we do know that Crystal Cruises is essentially dissolving. We have their U.S. offices that that are closing, and then we have their parent company, Genting, that's also filed for bankruptcy, that has kind of left Crystal Cruises to somewhat fend for itself, at least in the public eye, which is obviously not a very good situation. Now, when it comes to these crew members, of course, these ships have been seized, but they're still there trying to figure out what exactly is going on. These crew members have just a couple options, because again, Genting isn't having any part of it, which we got to talk about Genting in a minute. I keep saying Genting and Genting. They confuse me after a while, but I'm pretty sure you pronounce it Genting. Somebody let me know in the comment section. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So basically what's happening with Crystal Cruises is you have the crew members that are on board right now that only have a couple options. Either as of right now, they can stay on board the ship, and the ships could either, the cruise line as well, could either be sold and they'll have a job, or they can stay on there right now and the ships will be scrapped and sold, and whatever is sold to another cruise line, they could potentially lose their job in the process while they are waiting to see what's going to become of Crystal Cruises. Or they can go home and pretty much forfeit their job and pretty much go back to square one. Now, this is heartbreaking for the crew members, because think about it. The cruising industry has only resumed operations in places like the United States and most of the world. Well, now it's been like 7 or 8 months. But back then, when all this whole fiasco and debacle started, it had only been in operation for like 5 to 6 months. So then they have to turn around and now deal with this craziness and potentially risk not having a job. And they are really in no control of it unless they decide to just go ahead and forfeit, go home, and try to find another cruise line to work for. It is absolutely heartbreaking. I could just only hope that all this comes to a peaceful resolution. Now, we do have a company known as V Ships over in Monaco. That's where they're headquartered. They are currently in charge of all the Crystal ships, or the Crystal Serenity, the Crystal Symphony, and the Endeavor. Now, it's unclear as far as what's going to happen, but it's kind of one of those things that we're going to have to wait and play it by ear. I just hope that everything works out for the crew members in a very happy ending. But again, we'll see. I'll be sure to keep all of you updated. Now, sailing into our last topic for today's video, of course, right after you guys hit that like button because you're enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribing. That way you can stay updated whenever I post more videos like this and other cooler videos. Keep in mind, I am going on one of the world's largest cruise ships, Wonder of the Seas by Royal Caribbean. And I say one of them because this last topic is concerning the other world's largest cruise ship. Now, I know when I saw this article, and I've been looking at this for the past couple days, I've been extremely confused. So we thought was the largest ship in the world, originally Symphony of the Seas. Then you had Wonder of the Seas that is getting ready to resume operations, has hit the 7 seas. We now come to find out that the Global Dream by Genting, the parent company, and Dream Cruises, basically what's happening now, you have the Global Dream, which is technically the largest cruise ship by capacity. So just to give you guys the numbers, that way there's no confusion, you have the Global Dream that has a capacity, it can hold up to 9,500 passengers, 2,200 crew, which comes out to just under 12,000 people that this ship can hold. However, if you look at Wonder of the Seas, they hold just under 7,000 passengers, 2,400 crew, which equates to just around 9,500 people that it can carry on board. So you can see where the capacity is. I would just imagine on Wonder of the Seas, it can house more restaurants and playgrounds and, you know, water slides and all that other stuff that they have on board. So it kind of makes sense. Either way, guys, I just want to catch everybody on the same page. Now, let's talk about what's going on with the Global Dream. Now, just to give you guys the main points of what's going on with this entire situation involving the Global Dream cruise ship, the largest cruise ship on planet Earth by capacity. We got to make sure we point that out. Basically, back earlier this year on January 10th, you had MV Wharton Shipyard. This is where the ship is currently under construction at. They filed for bankruptcy. And then just 8 days later, as most of you know, we had Genting itself that ended up filing for bankruptcy as well, as they were over $2 billion in debt. Now, the Global Dream is under construction. It cost about $1.8 billion to build. It's still under construction, like I said, about 75% completed. And then of that $1.8 billion that the ship cost, it's believed that about 1.4 to 1.6 of that money that it took to pay for this ship, or is paying for this ship as it's being constructed, was put out in loans. So basically the cruise line itself, Genting, they didn't have the money to actually upfront the cost for this ship. So now they got to try to find a buyer to hopefully buy this ship and take on all the loans and everything else that comes with the ship being completed. Now, the problem with all of this is that nobody really is knowing as far as how much information is out there as far as the Global Dream. It's believed to be 75% completed. However, the company isn't exactly putting any information out there as far as how much money is left to finish the ship off. Some people believe it's anywhere between $500 to $600 million, but it's kind of hard to say. This is from somebody at the shipyard that's working over there. Now, we do know that Dream Cruises and Genting, its parent company, they're trying to avoid what's known as a fire sale. Basically, it kind of is in the name. They don't want people to panic with within the company and sell the ship for less than what it's worth, especially since it isn't even finished yet and hasn't even started operations. It is literally just a giant mess. Now, there are thankfully potential buyers of the ship. They just haven't had like a set agreement as far as what they're going to sell the ship for, but you also got to take into consideration MV Warfton. It's also filed for bankruptcy. Now, there are people that are affiliated with Genting and people that are around that are believing that this company, the MV Warfton shipyard, will potentially run out of money by summer, which means they'll have to find another buyer as well, which of course goes into the whole problem of maybe who is going to finish building this ship, right? Because they can't just move a ship that's under construction from one shipyard to the other. They can, but obviously, as you could imagine, it's going to be a very tedious, very expensive, crazy situation for them to even consider. So it's just trying to figure out what's going to happen with the shipyard and what's going to happen with the ship. But either way, guys, that's the basics of it. There hasn't been anybody confirmed as far as who's going to buy the world's largest cruise ship by capacity. But when there is, I'll be sure to let all of you know. Either way, guys, we're going to leave it right here. Of course, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section below. I appreciate every single one of you. On your way out, of course, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And by the way, I'm very jealous about all of you that went over to, where was it, Fort Lauderdale, or I forget, Port Everglades. It was over in that area yesterday. You had the arrival of the Wonder of the Seas. I was going to go out there, but I got to get ready to pack. I'm flying out to Mexico tomorrow, and there's so much other stuff going on. Either way, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. Hit that like button. Share this video. It goes a very long way in supporting my channel, and I'll see all of you later. Take it easy.